Hello, Hilltop. It's Mr. Amici again, and it's a terrific Tuesday for some PE. I hope you enjoyed your winter break and did some fun outdoor active activities while you were on your break. Now, if you remember, one of the sports we talked about that's a fun winter sport is hockey, and that's what we're going to focus on for our PE lesson today. Now, underneath that word hockey, I've got 4 other words listed: ice, floor, table, and air. Those are 4 different types of hockey that we're going to talk about, and we'll practice 3 of the 4 today. Can you guess which one maybe we won't practice? If you guessed ice hockey, you're correct. It's hard to practice ice hockey here in the gym at Hilltop, but we'll talk a little bit about ice hockey and what makes it different than floor hockey later in this tile. And then we'll have a tile about table and air hockey after that. So before we get started learning how to play floor hockey and ice hockey, we need to talk about the different types of equipment that we're going to need. So we'll talk about floor and ice hockey equipment in a minute. So if you need to pause the video at any time when I'm giving directions about what we're going to need, feel free to do that, and you'll still have some PE time left to practice those skills. So we'll talk about table and air hockey soon, but are you ready to learn about ice and floor hockey? All right, well, here we go. Hello, Hilltop. So now we're going to talk about the equipment that you need for ice and floor hockey. One piece of equipment that's the same for ice and floor hockey is the ice hockey stick. Now the stick is the long handle or shaft here, and this bottom piece, for those of you who have had PE with Mr. Amici, do we remember what we call this bottom piece? Is the blade. Now the blade is the part of the stick that actually touches a hockey puck or a ball. We'll talk about those in a minute, but I still want to talk about this hockey stick. Now my number 1 rule about the hockey stick is that the blade, repeat after me, stays on the floor. Again, the blade stays on the floor. Again, the blade stays on the floor. The reason for that is if we're swinging the blade up into the air, we could accidentally hit someone and they could get hurt, and we don't want that. So we want to keep the blade of our hockey stick down on the floor. Raise your hand if you've just got a hockey stick laying around right next to you right now. Right, probably not many of you. So here's some options that we can use instead of a hockey stick. When we come back to Hilltop and you have PE with me, we can all use hockey sticks here in the gym. I've got enough for everybody. But at home, we'll learn with something different. So I brought along a few options. First one we've used before is our pool noodle. So if you have that pool noodle that you've used before for other activities, we had our pool noodle fitness. It's also great for other catching and throwing activities. You could use a pool noodle. Just choose which end you want to be the stick to hold the handle, and then which end you want to swing and try to hit your puck or ball with. Look what I have here. A Kleenex box, right? Empty. Some of them are square. Maybe you've seen a Kleenex box that's like a rectangle shape. Now what you notice is the pool noodle, it makes a good stick, but it doesn't necessarily have a blade on the end. So here's where you could create some of your own equipment. You could take your Kleenex box or any kind of other square object you might have, and you could try to tape it or attach it to the end of what the stick that you're using is, and you could use that as a blade. Let's say you're trying to find something at home. Oh, I don't have a hockey stick, but maybe I have a baseball bat. Right? You could use the one end for the handle and the other end to hit. Say you don't have anything to create as your blade. That's okay, because actually if you notice, the blade makes it a little bit easier to hit the puck or the ball, the object that we're trying to hit with our stick. So if you don't have one of those, that actually makes it more challenging, which would then improve your skill. Because if you practice with something that's not as easy, then when you go and you use one that has a big blade on it like this, you'll say, "Ah, this is so simple. I'm glad I was challenging myself when I was practicing." So if the hockey stick you're using today doesn't have a blade on the end, it'll still work. What else could you use, Mr. Amici? Oh, maybe an umbrella. So if you have an umbrella at home, you can hold the handles on one end and use the other end to hit the object. Something we want to make sure is clean if we're going to use the old plunger. So I've got a clean, unused plunger that I could hold the handle, and I could use the other end as my blade to try to hit my object. Some of you might have some of this laying around after our holiday season. This is a wrapping paper tube that we've talked about when we could use as our barbell, some of our barbell exercises. So if you remember our barbell workout, maybe you used something for that you could use as your hockey stick today. Now this comes as a good combination. It's a broom. The broom makes for a nice hockey stick. It's got a handle, and then the blade would be the bristles at the end. And you know the little dustpan that it comes with? You know what this would be good for? Perhaps a hockey goal. We'll talk more about the goal soon too. But so if you have a broom and a dustpan combination, you could use the dustpan as the goal and the broom as your hockey stick. And in this winter season we're getting into, maybe you could even use one of these. The adult at home might have a brush that they use to wash or get snow and ice off of their car. You could use the handle end as the stick, and you could use the brush or the scraper end as the blade. But we want to make sure we're safe with these because sometimes they can be sharp on the edge, so remember you want to keep it down by the floor. All right? So those are some options for you to use as your hockey stick today. Now we're going to talk about what we're going to use to hit the hockey, or we're going to hit with the hockey stick. And I've got some yarn balls, and I've got two different types of hockey pucks. Now the yarn balls are just a soft cloth ball. I've talked about these before. Now these, say you don't have these at home, rolled up socks would make a great substitute for these. So maybe for the ball, you could use some rolled up socks. Now if you want to be really authentic with our hockey theme, you could use a hockey puck. So that's a flat yet circular short cylinder that they use for hockey. I'll show you this one real close. This is actually just a slice of a pool noodle. So say you have a pool noodle and it's super long and you don't need it to be that long, you could just cut a little slice off of the end and it could become your hockey puck. And then I've got a real deal rubber hockey puck as well. Maybe you have those at home. So three important things that we need as hockey, ice, and floor equipment is the hockey stick, the hockey puck or ball, and then lastly is the goal. So an object that you want to try to hit your ball or your puck to. I've got a lot of different options here. One is a real deal hockey goal that we use here at Hilltop. The other is a bin, so this is like a bucket that I just turned upside down. So maybe like a laundry bin or a toy storage bin that you have at home, you could lay down facing forward, and that could become a goal. And we'll do some skills with these cones in a little bit when we talk about how to use the hockey stick. So these wouldn't necessarily be a goal right now, but I could aim and try to push my puck towards them. And then I have a hula hoop right here, and I could use this as like a landing zone or a target, like where I would want the ball or puck to stop. And if you don't have a hula hoop at home as a landing zone, another great substitute for that would be like a towel or a t-shirt. You just open up a piece of cloth, lay it down on the floor, and then you could practice your hockey skills and you try to pass the puck and get it to stop in or on top of the towel or the shirt or in the hoop. So now that we've talked about the three main pieces of equipment for ice and floor hockey, the stick, the puck, and the goal, we're going to practice some skills with these. But right before we do that, what's the big difference between ice and floor hockey? Two main things. One, ice hockey, the ground that you're playing on is ice, and you would then be wearing ice skates. Floor hockey, we keep our shoes on, and we just run around on this ground. So ice and floor hockey, very similar, have very similar pieces of equipment. Besides, we don't play it on ice and we don't use skates. Are you ready to practice some of our floor hockey skills? So get that equipment that you need, the stick, the puck or ball, and the goal, and let's practice some skills.